Sa makabagong panahon, may Ninoy Aquino. Pero beyond that, wala tayong national holiday na dedicated to any other heroes. Dapat lahat tayo, kilala man o hindi sikat, ay may paboritong bayani. No? Kasi hindi ko matanggap. Kilala natin yung mga Marvel, mga DC Universe, Marvel-verse superheroes. Pero, at alam natin yung mga kasaysayan nila, kung sino yung mga naka-cross, nila. Pero hindi natin alam yung buhay ng ating mga bayani.
So maybe, a quick Google check will show you a list ng mga sigurong pwede nyo pang i-search or i-research pa, no? Yung mga mas hindi pa kayo kilala kasi tama ka, partner. Growing up sa elementary and high school, there are just a few names na paulit-ulit na pinag-aaralan.
Alam mo, hindi pa nga kailangan i-Google yan eh.
Oo.
Minsan yung pangalan ng mga kalye natin, araw-araw natin pinagdadaanan, yung pangalan ng mga eskwelahan. Nilagay yan ng mga nauna sa atin para hindi natin makalimutan. Hindi na nga natin kailangan mag-alay ng buhay sa bayan in the same way that they did. Gunitain mo lang, sino kaya? Yung simpleng tanong lang, sino nga ba si ganito? Sino nga ba si Raha, ganyan-ganyan? Sino nga ba si Macario Sakay? Ganyan simple lamang na mga tanong will lead us to increase curiosity. Therefore, makakahanap tayo ng kaya may dahilan kung bakit itong mga lugar na to o bakit may ribulto sila mga ganyan-ganyan. Ba?
O sige nga, challenge natin sa ating mga viewers. So, ano pangalan ng street nyo at anong alam nyo? History behind your street name. Sa amin kasi puro dagat eh. Puro beaches ang pangalan ng
ano pangalan ng hindi masasabihin.
Oo, hindi. So,
may dahilan.
Hindi nagsaspark yung curiosity ko dahil sa street name.
Oo, pero kung bakit nga, kami naman, pangalan ng mga prutas at mga puno. Pwede mo ma-i-connect yan. Bakit kaya ganito? Bakit kaya ganito? Eventually, yung curiosity na yun, ang hindi ko talaga makatanggap, may mga nakatira sa blooming treat mismo, buong pinanganak at mamamatay na lang buong buhay nila sa
may mga kilala ka bang ganon?
Hindi nila kilala kung sino si Ferdinand Blumentritt.
Malapit, wag na pala natin. Wag tayo mag-usap ng address pala, no? I was gonna say, malapit ka ba doon? Wag mo na sagutin.
Pero nag-aral tayo sa lugar na malapit doon. At lahat ng mga kali na kapaligid doon ay may kinalaman sa buhay ni Rizal. Diba? Sa mga panulat niya, etc., etc. At yung dating Forbes, inabot mo ba ng Forbes pangalan ng Lacson Avenue?
Parang hindi na ata.
Yung A. Lacson Avenue, hindi yun si Ping Lacson, ha?
Nako,
si Arsenio Lacson yun. Sa mga taga-Maynila, dapat kilala ninyo kung sino si Arsenio Lacson. Quick Google lang po yan, mga kapatid.
Sige nga,
GMG
mag-google nga.
Google mo, girl.
I-google ko yun kasi honestly, yung kabilang side, hindi rin ako masyado familiar.
Kabilang side?
Oo, parallel, the Noval side.
Si Padre Noval?
Oo.
Nako, alam mo partner, panahon pa ng Amerikano, sineselebrate na ito. No? Colonial era, nung 1931, sineselebrate na natin yan. At one point, naisabay pa nga yan sa pagdiriwang ng araw ni Bonifacio. Until, hanggang panahon ng Hapon, magkakasabayan, November 3. Tapos, nag-decide si Pangulong Elpidio Quirino na ibalik sa huling Sunday ng Agosto. Marami kasing significance din yung Agosto, no? Pero si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, actually, 2007, siya yung nagtakda na sa ang huling kahuli-hulihang Lunes ng Agosto na nakataya pa rin sa tinatawag nating holiday economics, yung GMA, no? So, makikita mo kaya nagkaka-long holiday palagi.
Yes, ang daming sobrang saya ha. Nitong Thursday pa lang hanggang Monday, nagpapahinga.
Alam mo, isipin mo, I think in contemporary terms, yung simpleng mabash nga lang tayo sa social media, ay hindi natin gagawin. Pero alam mo na kailangan mong sabihin tong isang bagay na ito. Pero hindi mo gagawin because takot kang mabash. Isipin mo nung araw, hindi lang simpleng mura at pang-iinsulto ay aabutin mo, kundi talagang panganib talaga. At ginagawa yan ng mga taong nauna sa atin, para maging malaya lang tayo. Pero ito, paraphrase a great man nga. what use is freedom when the slaves of today will be the contractors and greedy lawmakers of tomorrow? Bertolt Brecht may sinabi rin, unhappy is the land that in need of heroes. Diba? Sa isang bayan na kailangan ng maraming bayani, may problema tayo dyan. Anyway.
So again, let's celebrate all our heroes, national heroes, at saka yung mga modern heroes natin. Napakarami niyan. Di nyo na kailangan tumingin pa sa malayo. Pero eto, sige, umpisahan na natin ang ating usapan. And as promised, we bring you the headlines at this hour. DPWH Batangas 1st District Engineer Abelardo Calalo has been arrested over alleged attempted bribery. The Calabarzon Police confirms Calalo is now in their custody after trying to bribe Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste with 3.1 million pesos. That's to supposedly dissuade the lawmaker from investigating DPWH projects in his district. In a statement, Leviste's office confirmed a formal case will be filed against Calalo at the office of the Batangas Provincial Prosecutor tomorrow. Senator Ping Lacson earlier lauded Leviste for the successful police entrapment operation against a, quote, corrupt DPWH district engineer who reportedly tried to buy the lawmaker off. For its part, the DPWH said the matter is deeply concerning and is being taken very seriously. It added that Calalo will be relieved of his assignment and will be preventively suspended.
Meanwhile, President Marcos sees economic sabotage in a rock shed project in Benguet worth 260 million pesos. The details in this report.
Only one lane is now passable along this portion of Cannon Road in Sitio Camp 6, Tuba, Benguet. That's because part of the road collapsed, leaving massive rocks, soil, and mud blocking the way. Some of the debris even slid down to the riverbank. This prompted President Bongbong Marcos to express disappointment during his inspection of the recently completed rock shed in the area.
You can see for yourself na talagang hindi trinabaho ng mabuti ito.
The Department of Public Works and Highways spent more than 260 million pesos for the construction of the rock shed from January 2023 to April 2025. But the President questioned what he saw on the ground.
Sa ilalim ng kalsada, which is the most important part, ay wala na. Talagang na-erode na. Dahil yung slope protection dito sa baba, sa tabi ng ilog, ay napakababa at napakahina.
DPWH Cordillera denied that slope protection was part of the project, which is normally used to prevent landslides along rivers and streams.
Ang pinanggalingan ng slide is sa taas. It's not even part of the project. It's not part of the road right-of-way. So yung malalaking bato na tumipak doon sa existing na slope protection. Actually, yung slope protection dito is constructed since 20,000. So, 15 years na yung life ng slope protection na existing dito.
But for the President, the failed project amounts to economic sabotage. That's because more than 30% of residents have lost their livelihood after half of the road was damaged.
It is not only the damage, the physical damage that we can see, but it is also the damage to the economy. It is also the damage to the people's livelihood. Tinanggal sa kanila 35% ng kanilang hanap buhay para ibulsa ang pera ng gobyerno.
The local government of Tuba has already written to DPWH to expedite repairs.
Ang trabaho nila is standard, hindi substandard. Kasi kami naman maapektuhan pag mag-aaksyon kami, hindi naman kami inaaksyonan.
The President added that the government will end up spending double to fix the problem, a claim disputed by DPWH.
This is 260 million project. Useless. Parang tinapon mo yung pera sa ilog. Useless. To correct this will cost double that. Para ayusin yung binigay ninyong problema sa amin, it will cost another 260 million, probably double 260 million, hanggang 500 million na yan.
No, our initial estimate here is more or less around 100 million. Wala naman tayong i-restore dito sa rock shed. Ang i-restore natin is yung nasira ng bagyo.
Aside from the rock shed, the president also inspected a rock netting project along another section of Cannon Road. He stressed that corruption is also rampant in such projects.
Napaka-notorious ng rock netting to sa corruption, pinagbawal na. Pero ginawa pa rin. Ang presyo ng rock netting is 3,200 pesos. Ang chinarge sa gobyerno is more than 12,000 pesos. So times 4. Times 4. So 75% ng kontrata kinikback.
The president vowed to restore the power of local governments to scrutinize infrastructure projects in their areas, including flood control.
Still on flood control projects, Pampanga Governor Lilia Pineda admitted she knew little about such initiatives in her province. According to the Sumbong sa Pangulo website, Pampanga received 293 flood control projects from 2022 to 2025 worth over 14.5 billion pesos. The governor personally inspected only the slow protection project in Candating Arayat, which was built in 2018 for 20 million pesos. Frequent damage to the structure has required additional repair funds of 91.6 million pesos in 2023 and 183 million pesos in 2024. Pineda called on the DPWH to halt the project for design flaws and inefficiency. She also noted worsening flood in her province.
Sayang yung pera. Kahit dagdagan mo pa ng bilyon yan, wala na talaga yan. Sa halip na bumaba yung tubig, halong lumala. Dati hanggang tuhod lang, hanggang bewang, ngayon hanggang dibdib na.
And at this point, makibalita naman tayo down south where One News Desk Dale Israel is reporting live. Dale, okay, tama, ano yung may sumadsad raw na ship? Saan banda at anong nangyayari ngayon? May mga nasaktan ba?
Yes, mayong hapon, Lord and Denise. More than 200 passengers had a sigh of relief this morning after disembarking from the vessel MV Filipinas Surigao del Norte, which ran aground after leaving the port of Masbate City. The ship had to be escorted by Coast Guard vessels en route to Cebu City after the incident that happened before 10 p.m. last night. The MV Filipinas Surigao del Norte left Masbate at 7 p.m. for Cebu City when it ran aground at the shallow seas of Capitancillo Island. According to passengers, the impact was so strong that some were injured when they hit their head. They sought first aid from the ambulance when they arrived at the port this morning. Some also said that they remembered the movie Titanic, wearing life jackets because everyone panicked when the ship seems to have crashed into something. According to Chase Cocalyong, the VP for Operations of Cocalyong Shipping Lines, there was no need to worry because there was no damage on the ship and it was able to safely dock in Cebu City. He said the incident was simply blown out of proportion. According to the owner, the ship avoided the fishermen at the area, so it went to the shallow sea. But according to the Coast Guard, the ship will not be allowed to set sail tonight due to thorough inspection that will be conducted to ensure the safety of the ship. More than 5 individuals have sought the Coast Guard nurse for minor injuries. Other passengers were angry because there was no announcement about the ship's status after it had run aground, and some say they will file a complaint against the liner. Back to you, Lord and Denise.
Dale, so ang nangyari, yung tinatawag na mga shallow area sa gitna ng dagat, normally mga corals ba yun, Dale? Tumama ba? Yung, at yung pinapakitang ship sa likod mo, yan yun, ano? At meron bang physical evidence ng impact?
I'm sorry, Lord?
Oo, Dale. Yung sinasabi mo na shallow areas na sa gitna ng dagat, yun ba ay mga coral? At meron bang physical evidence ng mga impact dyan na makikita mo sa gilid ng barko or sa ilalim?
Yes, the island actually, Capitancillo Island, is part of Bantayan, Cebu. That's the northernmost tip of Cebu. From what I know, that Capitancillo is rich in corals, and that's where the treasure sharks are often found. In that area, it's a dive spot, Capitancillo, and the Coast Guard is also still conducting inspections on the vessel to search for any damages on the hull of the ship. And right now, there's no information yet as to the status of the ship's hull. Lord?
Dale, balikan ko lang yung sinabi mo, they had to avoid fishermen, tama ba?
Tama.
So-
Denise.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
Denise, tama. According to Chase Cocalyong, yung VP for Operations ng Cocalyong Shipping Lines, they had to avoid fishermen who is on the ship lane or the sea lanes of the ships. That's why napunta sila sa medyo mababa na portion ng dagat.
No, but what is the standard practice? Kasi I'm sure alam naman nila na yung dinadaanan is kung saan usually dumadaan yung mga barko, no? So is that communication error or ano ba yun?
It's more likely na yung mga fishermen are supposed not to be there are found there at the ship lane. They know that doon dumadaan yung mga barko pero nandun pa rin yung mga fishermen. Yun ang sabi ni Chase Cocalyong.
Okay,
Denise?
Dale, saan papunta? Ang nangyayari ba ay paalis sila ng Cebu bound to where? Tapos binalik ba sila after ng impact?
Actually, Lord, paalis sila ng Masbate City, patungo sila ng Cebu. Supposedly, 12 hours yung biyahe nila. They were supposed to arrive around 7 a.m. this morning dito sa Cebu City. Pero dumating sila kanina mga 10 a.m. na ng umaga.
Oh, so tumambay pa sa dagat ng matagal. Yung barko pala, no? Okay. Tatanong sana tayo kay Dale kung kamusta kaya yung naging experience sa Amerika, no? Pero anyway, maraming salamat sa iyo. Ang ating One News Cebu desk. Dale, Israel. Thank you, Dale. Welcome back. All right, it's time to take our first break. And as we do so, here are the global headlines from the Associated Press. At magbabalik po ang Afternoon Delight.
This is AP News Minute. Israeli airstrikes hit Yemen's capital, Sana'a, Sunday, targeting multiple areas just days after Houthi rebels launched what the military called their first cluster bomb missile since 2023. The Houthi-run health ministry reported at least 2 people killed and 35 others wounded. Russia accused Ukraine Sunday of drone attacks that sparked a fire at a nuclear power plant in the western Kursk region. The same day, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced 2 billion Canadian dollars, about 1.5 billion US dollars, in new military aid to help Ukraine's army. More great white sharks are being seen in New England and Atlantic Canada. Scientists link this to the rise in seal numbers and say the sharks are staying in northern waters more often, but beachgoers are generally safe. In Lithuania, the World Corgi Meetup wraps up Sunday after thousands watched 120 Welsh Corgi teams compete in races over the weekend.
And this is Afternoon Delight on One News. Ako po si Lord De Vera.
At ako naman po si Denise Tan. Magandang hapon pong muli.
All right. On to more news. The defense team of former President Duterte has submitted its strategy for their upcoming hearing at the International Criminal Court. In a 3-page filing, Duterte's lead counsel, Nicholas Kaufman, said they expect to spend about 5 hours to argue the case at the confirmation of charges hearing on September 23rd. He added that the defense will present key legal issues, including modes of liability and the contextual elements of crimes against humanity. The defense reiterated that Duterte committed no crimes and has faithfully served the Philippines. Duterte is currently detained in The Hague for alleged crimes against humanity.
Here at home, Filipino and Australian troops simulated retaking enemy-held ground as part of the ongoing Alon exercise in San Vicente, Palawan. Here's the report.
The F-A-50 fighter jet of the Philippine Air Force flew in formation with the F-18 Super Hornet of the Royal Australian Air Force over San Vicente, Palawan. This is part of the ongoing Alon exercise, designed to show how a combined Philippine-Australian force could operate if part of the country's territory needed to be reclaimed from enemy control.
It is very significant because sa nakikita natin ng mga threats that we are facing, Palawan is one of those areas. No? So we have to be able to rehearse the defense of our western seaboard.
Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro and Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles personally observed the drills.
The exercise was very, very impressive. And this is a new venue. And you saw that the coordination between both the Australian forces and the Philippine forces were smooth.
This is about building the interoperability between two countries which share values and have one intent, and that is to uphold the rules-based order in this region.
Last Friday, the Philippines and Australia signed a joint statement of intent to develop a defense cooperation agreement. While the move may be seen as provocative by China, Secretary Teodoro dismissed such concerns.
The criticism basically of the PRC is really paranoia, and it is a propaganda line. Their criticisms are propaganda, which for them and fortunately for us is not working.
The drills come amid rising tensions in the West Philippine Sea, including recent Chinese incursions at a Yungin shoal, which AFP successfully repelled. AFP Western Command confirmed that troops remain on high alert and ready to respond to any situation.
Nakausap ko sila and they are in high spirits despite yung nangyari. We are always on alert.
On to another story. The Konektadong Pinoy bill has lapsed into law after President Bongbong Marcos did not sign it within the 30-day period. The law is aimed at boosting internet access and attracting digital investments. It allows new data transmission providers to operate without a legislative franchise or certificate of public convenience and necessity to expand connectivity, especially in remote areas. In a statement, Senator Amy Marcos hailed the measure, saying it will bring lower prices, better internet, and attract more businesses. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano also welcomed the law, calling it a step towards modernizing digital infrastructure and providing affordable, quality connectivity for all Filipinos.
And to weigh in on how this development might affect us all is former DICT Undersecretary Jeffrey Ian D. Thank you for talking to us, sir. Si Lord Rivera po at si Miss Denise Tan.
Magandang hapon po, sir.
Magandang hapon, Denise at Lord.
Magandang hapon po, sir. Okay, sir, bago po nag-lapse into law itong bill, matagal nyo na pong wina-warning yung oversimplification po ng bill na ito ay maaring makaapekto some concerns. Ano yung pinaka-major po doon sa ninyo, sir?
Okay, so two things. First is concern on national security, and second is concern about economic externalities. Mas mahirap itindihin yung pangalawa. It's more about how the market dynamics work. So let me get this straight. The original version of Konektadong Pinoy, before this particular version passed into law, was very simple. And I supported that. No, it's about liberalization of the telecommunications industry by removing the franchise requirements for new entrants, the legislative franchise requirements. Kasi tayo na lang ang merong franchise requirement na nadadaan pa sa Kongreso, of all countries. And then second, it's all about sharing your passive infrastructure, tulad ng mga dadaan sa loob ng building, yung mga dumadaan sa kalsada, sharing of the passive infrastructure among all entrants and all players para bumaba ang internet cost. However, sa final version, merong Section 16 kasi. Yung Section 16 is, quite simply, ito yung oversimplification. They are forcing everyone. Either you're a new player, an old player like PLDT, a 100-year-old company, or Globe, or even Dito, new player ang Dito, but there are also 200 other smaller internet service providers, could either be very, very small players who are new entrants, less than 5 years, or could have been there for about 10 or 20 years. They are forcing the infrastructure of these people to share to new entrants. That is the oversimplification. That is Section 16. So it's like this, Lord and Denise. Meron kang bahay. You build your own house. And then suddenly government comes in and tell you, you know what? We want to boost tourism. So we want all with their own houses to open up a rent through Airbnb for at least one room in their house. That's what happened here. So that's the major concern. And remember that not all telecommunications providers are created equal in terms of cost, investment, in fact, even in security investment. To give you an example, in Ireland back in the early 2000s, YouTube was down for about a week because one small internet service provider misconfigured a border gateway protocol, affecting all other internet service providers, simply because they were interconnected.
Opo. So, yung...
And as we speak, we
Yes.
speak, there is a 15,000 fiber optic cable created by a Chinese company without any local representation in northern Luzon, a very strategic piece of geographical area in Philippine sovereignty, northern Luzon.
Sir,
So
sinasabi
now
naman
they will be forced to interconnect because of this law.
Opo. Yung leadership naman ngayon, sinasabi daw, ay baka ma-flesh out naman itong mga misunderstandings na ito kapag they finally sit down para i-clarify naman yung mga IRR pag inayos raw po yun, sir.
Well, in the spirit of cooperation, then of course, we should all sit down, all parties, the pros, the cons, in order to write the IRR. And that's how democracy works. Unfortunately, Section 16 is there and it is explicit. Therefore, no IRR can remove it. Because when the law explicitly states, the IRR cannot go against it.
Oo.
Sir, ano pong magiging epekto nito? What will this law do to, those big stakeholders, pati na rin po yung mga small industry players? Kanina sabi nyo may 200 plus pa po, no, na internet providers.
Small players,
Opo.
yes. Yeah. So, number one, if the IRR is created equally and representative of all players, the good part is because you remove legislative franchises, then you'll have more players. No, we will see a market saturation somewhere. Kasi i-allow na rin yung foreign investors to come in, for example. So, with regard to the security concern, I hope that we can address that in the IRR so that we can be a little bit more stricter when it comes to interconnecting active devices. So, I'm in favor of connecting passive devices. Passive, Lord at saka Denise, yung mga taore, yung walang ginagawa. Yung passive, yung kable mo lang. Pag active na kasi, we're talking about interconnecting routers, switches with all other internet service providers. Mahirap na siyang i-monitor. And I hope, because the law envisioned DICT and NTC to take a closer look at all passive devices and active devices. I hope they have the technical wherewithal and also capabilities to be able to trace those. Kasi kung hindi, it's a big problem. Like I said, no? Maraming maliliit na players who are not really that technically capable. They just built the cable and akala nila yun na yung internet.
Oo. At may isang telco, no, na itago natin sa pangalang PLDT na they're gearing up for a major legal showdown talaga. I-challenge daw talaga nila ito. Tingnan natin. Pero, sir, pa-clarify lang po ito pong it forces daw yung transmission industry players to share infrastructure with other players but does not mandate telecommunications facilities used by mall subdivisions and real estate developers to do the same. Palinaw po nun, sir?
Correct. Yun yung actually, yun yung advocacy ko kahit nung undersecretary pa lang ako. Just to simplify para sa audience natin, Lord at Denise. Pag pumasok ka ng isang mall, kunyari SM, sila ang pinakamalaki, or Ayala, pansinin mo, walang ibang, isang telco lang gumagana. Diba? Kasi pag tumingin ka sa ceiling, may makikita kang parang ice cream cone. Ang tawag doon, picosite. Doon galing ang signal mo sa loob ng building kasi di tumatagos ang signal pag nasa labas. Pero ang problema dyan, alam niyo ba na pinauupahan yan ng mga malls? They rent it out per square feet for every cable and for every equipment that you bring in. That includes the pricing that factors in pricing. If you look closely, malls don't actually rent out water. They don't rent out power facilities. Why? Because they need it. But they don't need telco. So what they do is every time you get in, you have to pay a price. And when another telco wants to come in, they have the option to say no or to implement a large price for rent. So in this bill, this law na ngayon, did not even address that. It just said encouraging DICT and DSUD and all other government agencies to create a regulation around this particular problem. The reason for high internet cost is in building real estate and the cost of tower build-up. Kasi you have to lease the land. This law didn't even touch that. So anong nangyari? Ako, naglagay ako ng kable, nagrenta ako o bumili ako ng lupa, naglagay ako ng tore. Here comes the law telling me, oh, by the way, thank you, nagtayo ka, but we're forcing you to now lease it out to all other players. But you didn't address my problem. My problem is the landlords. Diba? That's also the reason why when you go to Green Meadows, you go around Corinthians, walang signal. Kasi ayaw nila magtayo ng tore po. Cancerous now. Oh, well, I'm also a cancer survivor, by the way.
Ayaw na mga mayayaman
on their pillows, wala namang rason ng telco doon, di ba? So, these are the problems that are actually haunting the telecommunication service sector, which we need to address in order to lower down costs.
So, sir, kunyari, ano naman yung posibleng medyo mabilisang solusyon sa ganyan? Bigyan ng gobyerno karapatan na, let's say, yung sa private property ay magkaroon kahit papano ng...
Yes. Gawin nilang public conveyance ang pagtatayo ng telco sa bawat isang public property. The same as power and water. Make it a utility. So when you do a subdivision, di ba pag gumawa ka subdivision, meron ka ng provision for power and water? Dapat meron ka ng provision for telco. Hindi lang yon. Pag nag-provision ka for telco, that conduit, lahat ng telco pwede dumaan. Hindi ka mamimili. Conduit I'm not, kasi yung dado nga oversimplified. Ngayon kasi yung infrastructure na ginawa ko, gusto mo pag sama-samahan nating lahat, ako gumawa nun eh. Ang sinasabi ko, yung mismong may-ari ng building o ng subdivision, yung mismong daanan, ang tawag doon conduit, ipag-share mo sa lahat. Diba? Kanya-kanyang kable, pero nakashare kayo lahat. Then that will reduce the cost and that will ensure better market fair play among all players. Kasi ngayon kasi may consolidation, let's call it a spade. These giant telcos, let's say, Globe has a real estate backing it. Diba? Let's face it. Okay. Rockwell has like what? That's ABS-CBN, so it has Sky Cable, etc. Globe has Ayala Land, etc. So anong nangyayari? Nagkakaroon ng monopoly sa pagpasok.
Nako,
that has to be solved.
Baka may isang kumpanya na may real estate, pero hindi pa nila pinapasok yung telco. Tubig, pinasok na nila. Pero...
Malay natin.
You can never tell, di ba? Pilipinas na lang pala may ganong, na kailangan humingi ng prangkisa sa Congress.
Well, merong ibang countries, but we're very, very few. Out of the 110 countries, mga less than 20. So tama yun. So let me check that out. That particular provision is correct to remove the legislative franchise, and we thank Congress for passing a law that is against their self-interest. They remove themselves from the equation.
Binasa kaya nila yun?
That part is good.
Oo, kasi pwede na lang higpitan, di ba? Pero paano kanya rin nagkaroon ng prime internet? Patay tayo.
Nako, teka lang. Sir, pwede ko bang itanong, meron kasi kayong binanggit, yung we talk about better cost, better internet, lower cost, better internet, pero it might be at the cost of our national security as well. Meron mga certain, tama ba, areas na na-access tayo through our airspace? Can you talk more about that?
So it's another problem that the law oversimplified is that it said that any telecommunications providers, anybody, any Tom, Dick, and Harry, even if you want to establish an internet service provider company tomorrow, can get a satellite coverage, a satellite operator as your backhaul without going through the bruha of applying with an NTC permit. And that is a problem. Number one, unlike, bigyan ko kayo ng napakasimpleng problema, gambling. How do you block gambling? It's by ordering all telcos to use what we call a protective domain name server so that we can synchronously, in a hierarchical fashion, order the blocking of illegal online gambling. We can also do so for illegal white slavery sites, and all other sites that we know are illegal. This is a technology that can easily be deployed. But if there is no franchise requirement, wag na natin tawagin franchise or permitting requirement for satellite. Tandaan niyo yung satellite, diretso international yun. Hindi yun dadaan sa gateway natin. Tayo kasi may mga gateway tayo. We're by the way, we're very, very fortunate. We have like 12 gateways na below, na nasa sea, no? Sa seabed natin. Pero pag satellite, diretso yun. Tsaka foreigner agad may-ari nun. Wala namang Pilipinong mayroong internet satellite sa orbital slot ng Pilipinas. Even in the orbital slot of the Philippines, the satellites there are not Filipinos. They're either Chinese, Korean, or Japanese, or whatever.
So may Starlink,
If you don't allow them to do a permit, how do you control internet traffic now? For the benefit of us. Diba? For our own benefit. And you see how proliferating phishing, scamming, and these online, illegal online sites are. So kung mawawalan tayo ng control, it will be harder to regulate them.
Well, all right. Marami pa sana tayong tanong, sir. But we thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Again, that was former DICT Undersecretary Jeffrey Ian B. Maraming salamat, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Meantime, here is a quick rundown of more stories on One News. Pag-asa continues to monitor the low-pressure area inside the Philippine Area of Responsibility. As of 8 a.m., the LPA has a low potential of developing into a tropical depression within the next 24 hours. Still, it will bring rains over Visayas, Bicol region, northern Mindanao, Caraga, and Quezon. Meantime, the southwest monsoon or habagat and localized thunderstorms will continue to trigger showers over the rest of the country. The National Union of Journalists of the Philippines, or NUJP, reminded media workers that accepting money or gifts for favorable coverage undermines editorial independence and public trust. NUJP acknowledged that the allegations against broadcasters Corina Sanchez and Julius Babao remain substantiated. It stressed, however, that solicitation and undisclosed paid content are common industry practices. This statement is on the heels of Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto's Facebook post about separate interviews made by Babao and Sanchez with couple Sara and Curly Discaya before the midterm elections. Sara Discaya ran against but lost to Soto in that post. And oil companies will implement an increase in the prices of fuel products tomorrow. Gasoline will become more expensive by 70 centavos per liter, diesel by 50 centavos, and kerosene by 30 centavos. The increase is on the back of tensions between Iran and Israel and the United States' failed attempt to broker a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. We also give you a quick look at stories from our partners, the Philippine Star and Business World. The Philippine Star is reporting about an Okta research survey that found Filipinos' distrust of China. At least 85% of 1,200 adults surveyed said believe Beijing poses a threat to the Philippines for its aggressive actions in disputed waters. The poll was conducted between July 12 and 17 and has a plus-minus 3% margin of error. On Business World, one headline reads, "Some Philippine companies lack right foundation for AI adoption." That's according to global consulting company Kearney, who cited the country's insufficient data and infrastructure to unlock value of investments. The firm also cited good data and training as key in harnessing the full potential of artificial intelligence. For more details of these stories, you can visit the social media pages of the Philippine Star and Business World. Do check out as well the social media platforms of One News PH for the very latest news.
Again, it is National Heroes Day today, and President Marcos marked this year's commemoration at the Libingan ng mga Bayani in Taguig City. More from News 5 correspondent Camille Samonte.
Nag-alay ng bulaklak si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos sa Tomb of the Unknown Soldier sa libingan ng mga bayani bilang pagkilala sa mga sundalo na nagsakripisyo para sa kalayaan ng ating bayan. Kasama ng Pangulo sa paggunita ng Araw ng Mga Bayani, sina Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro, AFP Army Chief General Antonio Navarrete at PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre. Naging malaman ang talumpati ng Pangulo.
Kailangan din natin labanan ang banta ng katiwalian at pang-aabuso sa kapangyarihan ng ating lipunan. Dahil hindi lamang salapi ang kanilang ninanakaw, kundi pati ang kalusugan, pangarap at kinabukasan ng mga susunod na henerasyon na Pilipino.
Hindi rin daw dapat palampasin ang panlilinlang dahil kung paulit-ulit ay unti-unti raw nitong masisira ang ating lipunan nang hindi namamalayan.
Bilang Pilipino, may pananagutan tayo sa ating bansa na maging mas mapanuri sa mga mali, na isiwalat ang panloloko at panindigan ang alam nating tama kahit hindi ito madali.
Kasabay nito, nagbigay ng komento si Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro patungkol sa sitwasyon sa Ayungin Shoal, kasunod ng napaulat na may bit-bit na malalaking armas ang Chinese personnel na rumoronda roon.
Wala kaming confirmed information about that. Walang konfirmasyon. At mag-ingat tayo sa fake news. Katulad, di ba, how many weeks ago, hinatak daw yung Sierra Madre. Di man totoo.
Nagpahatid din ng pagpupugay si Vice President Sara Duterte ngayong Araw ng Bayani. Sa kanyang mensahe, binigyang pugay niya ang iba't ibang sektor gaya ng mga sundalo, guro, doktor at nurse, pati mga OFW na nagsasakripisyo para sa kanilang pamilya at nagsisilbi ng tapat sa ating bayan. Nagpasalamat din si VP Sara sa mga Pilipinong pinipili umanong magpakabayani sa kabila ng makabagong panahon.
Still, this afternoon, the Light on One News. We just need to pause for another break. We'll be right back.
August 25th, 1944. During World War II, Allied forces in Europe liberate Paris, ending 4 years of Nazi Germany's occupation of the French capital. 1875. Captain Matthew Webb becomes the first person to swim the English Channel, making the journey from Britain to France in 22 hours. 1985. 13-year-old Samantha Smith and her father are killed in a plane crash in Maine. 2 years earlier, the girl's letter to the Kremlin led to her famous peace tour of the Soviet Union during the Cold War.
Soviet people do not want war. They're a lot like us, and they want no harm to the world just like we do.
1956. Alfred Kinsey, pioneering researcher of human sexual behavior, dies in Bloomington, Indiana. He was 62. 1930.
Bond, James Bond.
Sean Connery, the original actor to play super spy 007 on the silver screen, is born in Edinburgh, Scotland. 1918. Composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein is born in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Among his well-known musicals, On the Town and West Side Story. 1954. Elvis Costello, the musician whose work ranges from rock's new wave to classical and ballads with Burt Bacharach, is born in London. Considered a rock and roll masterpiece, is released. Today in history, August 25th. Sandy Kozel, The Associated Press.
You're still watching Afternoon Delight. Thank you for staying with us.
At ngayon pa nga po ay oras na para
Tuwa nang dumating.
ang ating delight of the day. Ang, ano ba tawag dito? Latik. Bibingkang latik.
Biko at bibingkang
Bibingkang latik, oo.
Ano mas gusto mo dyan, Denise Tan? Yung, alam mo yung joy na talagang lumabas sa kanya. Yung parang nung dumating yung crispy pata last week.
Hindi kasi
Ganon talaga.
kaninang umaga, bibili dapat ako. Tapos sabi ko, sige na nga, wag na nga. Oo. Sabi ko,
Meaning, it's fate.
exactly.
short, kumain
Destiny natin tong magsama tayo ngayong araw na ito.
Pero kung papipiliin ka ng dalawang yan, ano mas gusto mo dyan?
Alam mo, honestly, depende sa mood ko. Pero usually, ito yung pinapabili ko sa mom ko na mas bata ako,
Pareho
yung
tayo.
may latik. Oo.
Kasi ito, sawang-sawa na ako sa ganyan. So,
Bakit?
ganito na lang. Para magkaroon tayo ng tunay na pagkakaisa,
Ano?
iaalay ko itong part na to sa'yo, yung kabila, ialay mo sa akin.
Ganon? O,
Pwede
sige.
ba yun? May tawag dyan.
Ano?
Trade.
Sige. Ayan. Mahilig ka ba sa kakanin in general?
Hindi.
Ay, hindi.
Kasi puro kakanin kami nung lumalaki kami. Kasi nanay ko ay nutritionist. At talagang kalkulado niya yung mga ganyan-ganyan. So, mas healthy raw to kaysa sa gin.
Ako naman kasi nasanay ako sa ang lambing ng aking lola, ay nagpapagawa siya ng, alam ko pinapagawa niya yun Specifically, meron siya pinupuntahan na suman at latik naman. Oo, masarap. Teka nga, tikman ko nga.
Makapal yung ibabaw.
Sabi ni Direk, so, wait lang,
Hindi
Direk, patikim
tinipid.
muna. O sige na nga, while we're enjoying these treats, let's talk about some stories
Kain ka.
that we have online. Ito, isang usap-usapan sa social media about sports. Saktong-sakto, Pinay Pride on National Heroes Day on the Philippine star. Gritty Ayala makes Philippine tennis history with US Open win.
Nanood ka ba yan?
Tayo'y nakatulog, pero sinundan natin yan agad-agad this morning dahil napakaganda ng mga videos. Pinoy tennis ace Alex Ayala makes a statement return and victory on the court after suffering a shoulder injury. She soared past world number 14 lang naman Clara Towson 6-3, 2-6, and 7-6. Actually, dikit na dikit to. Nag 8-8 pa, 9-8, 12-11 bago natapos sa 13-11. 12-11 na 13-11 in favor of Ayala, of course, in her US Open debut to advance to the round of 64. And according to Philippine Star article, Ayala is the first player from the Philippines to win a Grand Slam senior single match in the Open era. Thus, assuring her of a purse of $154,000 or approximately 8.7 million pesos just for reaching the round of 64. So, pwede pang umangat to ng umangat. And this year, US Open has the largest prize money purse in tennis history as it reached $90 million or more than 5 billion pesos in total player compensation. Grabe.
Kailangan mo talaga. Atleta, no? Yan. Samantaling kontraktor. Napakadali lang ng ganyang sa kanila.
Pirma-pirma lang, Ito, buong buhay niya. Talagang inilaan niya for the game.
At may sinabi si Alex Ayala after that historic win sa US Open. Pakinggan nga natin.
They make me more and more special. To be Filipino is something I take so much pride in. And I don't have a home tournament, so to be able to have this community here at the US Open, I'm so grateful that they made me feel like I'm home.
Pinoy. At yung crowd support din mahalaga din talaga.
That's true.
Pero talented talaga to si Alex.
Oo naman.
At gagaling pa yan talaga. Ano na kaya niya ngayon sa ranking niya?
I believe before this match started, she was ranked number 63.
Malupit.
Oo, alalahanin natin, not so long ago, I believe just a few months ago, she was out of the top 200 ata. Pero yung bulusok niya in the Miami Open, after niyang talunan yung sunod-sunod, world number 6, number 5, number 2, even Iga Swiatek, nandun pa sa graduation niya. But again, congratulations to Alex Ayala for such a big win. Oo.
Dapat
Ano?
tutok ang support talaga.
And sana marami siyang, I'm sure marami siyang nai-inspire na
Magbago ng direksyon ng suporta.
young athletes.
Okay, still on the Philippine Star via live. Ito, very scientific. Dahil Ghost Month na ang August 23 to September 21, the headline reads, the most important thing you should do to avoid bad luck during Ghost Month. Ano ba itong mga to?
Isa sa pinaka-importante is dapat bagayan mo sa iyong fashion. Kailangan daw bright colors.
Bakit bright color?
Oo. Para to attract positivity, 'di ba? Tapos kailangan
Pasok ba ang Ghost Flood Control Project?
Ha?
Ghost, pasok.
Oo,
Alam
Ghost
mo,
Project.
hindi na kailangan ng Ghost Month para sa mga ganyan.
All year.
All year yan sa
Correct.
Pilipinas.
Ayun. So, wearing bright colors, tapos kailangan daw malinis, Malinis yung paligid. Oo. Always
Siyempre
practice
naman.
cleanliness. Ano pa? Oo, ayun nga.
Kailangan pa bang sabihin yun?
Kailangan daw, lighting incense. Mga insenso.
Eh di,
Kung wala,
paano pag may asthma ka?
wag na yon, mag-bright
Ayun.
colors ka na lang, tapos linis-linis ka. It also be good for your health in general and your mental health.
Pero in general daw, ang mga dapat mong i-avoid ay may potentially yung mga major decisions.
Yes.
Like bibili ka ng bagong bahay, maglilipat ka
Starting
ng
a
bahay.
business, all that.
Kung bibili ka ng sasakyan pero ang pilido mo Diskaya, okay lang. Barya-barya lang yung mga ganyan eh. At ano pa ba? Huwag ka raw mag-swimming, delikado.
Talaga ba?
Baka kaya hindi ako nagdagat.
Oo, baka inilayo ka talaga,
Maliban sa ibang surf ang kaya kong gawin eh. Anyway, ano pa ba yung mga bawal gawin daw? Mag-travel? Magpakasal?
Magpakasal.
Yes.
Oo. Basta not
napatigil
any...
ka nung
Hindi ko kasi masyadong... Ang alam ko lang talaga is more on business, na don't start anything new.
magpa-opera, magpa-surgery?
Major life decisions, wag muna. Okay, matagal-tagal pa ang Ghost Month. Pag-usapan pa natin kung ano yung mga pwede, mga do's and don'ts. But for now, papaalam na kami. That will have to do it for us. This Monday, August 25, have a meaningful National Heroes Day. Ako po ulit, si Denise Tan.
Join us again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Ako po si Lourdes Vera. Mabuhay ang mga buhay na bayaning araw-araw nakikibaka sa buhay. Pero lang yung mga kontraktor, mga kontratista na mandurugas.